Hi there. So you're interested in buying a home. Today we're going to talk about what that process would look like when you're working with both a realtor and a mortgage lender. I'm Bart Swan, a mortgage lender with Certainty Home Loans, and with me today is Alice Toy, realtor with Century 21 in Niceville. So Alice, if somebody wants to buy a home, how's that process going to start?
Okay, well, the first step, which is going to be really important, is finding a realtor and finding a lender to work with. And one of the ways that you can do that is asking your friends. Do you know anyone who's recently bought or sold a house? They've worked with a realtor and maybe a lender, and they would have that advice for you. So if you can find a recommendation from them, that's great, because if they can give you a recommendation for a realtor, your realtor is going to have some lenders that they've worked with, or if they can give you a recommendation for a great lender, the lender's going to know some local realtors who are really good. And so that's the first step in the process. The next step in the process is going to be finding an ideal budget. And so to find an ideal budget, you're going to want to talk to someone like Bart.
Yeah, that's going to be very important early on to get pre-qualified for a mortgage. If you're going to need a mortgage, right, to buy a house, then you're going to need to get pre-qualified for that. And the way that mortgage lenders pre-qualify somebody is we're actually just looking at your monthly payment. So we don't tell somebody, I mean, we do. We tell people you're qualified for a $300,000 home. But really, what we're qualifying people for is like a $1,800 a month payment, right? And then from that, we kind of work toward what would that look like for a purchase price. But the purchase price can vary quite a bit depending on what house you actually buy. So before we talk about that, how does somebody find an ideal home? What would you recommend that they do?
Okay, so after you've figured out what you want your budget to be, which is a good step, then we're going to look at finding the ideal home. So when you're looking for your ideal home, you've got your budget, which is going to narrow some things down for you. But the next thing you're going to want to do is figure out some of the features that you're looking for in a home. And so I would write down some of these features, and then I would really think about what your top 3 features are when you're looking for a home. And this could be something like location, the number of bedrooms, how close you want to live to a school. It's going to be different for everybody. So figure out what those top 3 must-haves are for you. Once you get some of those ideas narrowed down, your realtor is going to help you out at this point by setting you up in the multiple listing service, also called the MLS. So once you're in there, that's going to give you the most current active listings in the market, and you're going to be able to view those online whenever you want to. And so a good way to start the process with your multiple listing service is to start eliminating homes online that you know you don't like right away. So eliminate those homes first. Then I would start driving by some of those homes in the neighborhoods to make sure that those areas are ones that you want to live in. And once you have that narrowed down even further, you're going to want to go with your realtor to view these homes in person and see what you like. After you get it narrowed down really well, maybe to like your top 3, Bart's going to be doing some things during that process too. So what are you going to be doing while we're searching for their ideal home?
Right, because, you know, a $300,000 home, 2 $300,000 homes can result in a very different monthly payment. Mm-hmm. That can depend on the cost of the homeowner's insurance. That can vary dramatically, actually, depending on the age of the home and how close it might be located to water here in Florida, because that's a big deal, you know, because of potential wind or hurricane damage. As well as the taxes can vary quite a bit from place to place. Different cities have different tax rates. And living in the county, believe it or not, the taxes are cheaper in the county. So that can vary quite a bit. And then also whether the house is in a homeowners association or not.
Right.
So a monthly payment is going to have the principal and the interest, which is the actual repayment on the loan. That's the P&I. And then you're going to have taxes and insurance. That's TI. So PITI is your monthly payment. But then also some houses are going to have the homeowners association dues. So that would be A. So sometimes you'll hear PITIA. That's your total monthly expense for living in that house. And we're going to be looking at that for the different houses that you look at. Because if you got 3 of them narrowed down, then we'll look at the taxes and we'll look at the homeowner's insurance and decide and let you know about how much that payment's going to be for each one of those 3 houses. And that might by itself might help you eliminate some or maybe elevate others to a higher priority among your list. So that's kind of how we do that.
Great. And one thing to keep in mind when you are looking for your ideal home is that no home is going to be 100% perfect. And so really what you should do is make sure that the homes you're looking at have the top 3 things that you're interested in, or maybe they meet most of the features that you're looking for. An important thing to remember is, can you see yourself living there happily? And so hopefully once you've found the house that you see yourself living in happily, you're ready to make an offer. And so once that happens, your realtor is going to do a comparative market analysis, or a CMA, for you. And what that's going to do is help make sure that you put a reasonable offer in for the house, just so that you're getting the best value. Your realtor will then write up the contract and submit it. Once the contract gets submitted, it's either going to be accepted, denied, or there could be some negotiating going on. So if we do get into negotiations, Bart's going to help during that process, and he'll talk about that.
Almost every negotiation boils down to price, or closing cost credits, that kind of thing. There's rarely is it going to boil down to closing date, or whether the refrigerator's left or not. But that can be part of it. But ultimately, it's really about price and closing costs. So initially, with your initial offer, I'll tell you what your closing costs would look like, and then what the monthly payment would be like. But then if you get a counter offer from that seller and they say, no, I want $5,000 more for the house, or I want to pay $3,000 less in closing costs, then we just run those numbers and let you know what that's going to look like at closing. Because every variation in price and closing costs is going to affect either your monthly payment or your bottom line at closing in one way or another.
Right. So I think the important thing about keeping in contact with you at that point is, as the negotiations change, the amount of money that you need to bring to closing could increase, or your payments could change a little bit, and that would make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so then once we get an executed final contract, what are we going to need to do then?
Once everybody's come together and signed paperwork, and now we have a fully executed contract with a closing date and the price and the terms, everything's all determined, then that's where we're going to actually start documenting the things that you and your lender have talked about. So getting pre-qualified, we pull the actual credit report, and we've done a video on credit reports, which is pretty fascinating too. But so we're going to actually pull a credit report to get you pre-qualified. But otherwise, all we do is talk about your income and what your assets, your employment, that kind of thing. So that once you get to fully executed contract, though, it's time to start actually documenting those things that all we've done so far is talked about. So we're going to request your copies of your bank statements, copies of your W-2s, copies of your pay stubs, that kind of thing, so that we have a complete credit file so that we can start the processing and underwriting. That's going to be, we're going to discuss that in more detail in our next video, though. That's
good information, because all that paperwork is something that we could be working on as while we're looking for homes. We could be working on gathering some of that stuff, so we know what to expect and we're ready for that day.
That's the important thing about getting pre-qualified very early in the process, so that if there's any hurdles that we need to get around, whether it's with your credit or whether it's with some piece of documentation, whatever, we have time to do that. So yes, the earlier you can provide the documentation in the process, the better. But certainly by the time we get to fully executed contract, it's time to start turning that stuff in.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching today. We hope that you found this video helpful. Our next video, part 2, we are going to talk about the rest of the process. And so we are going to talk about from contract to welcome home.
That's right.
So thanks for watching today. We look forward to seeing you next time.
How do they reach you?
Oh, you can reach me anytime at 717-968-9595.
And I'm at 850-678-4663. We look forward to next time.
Thanks. Bye.